جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من تبع ذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن سكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسلكم أجرا مهتدون وما لي ألا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أتخذ من دوني آلهة إني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخلوا الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قوم من بعد من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم حامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كما أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنه إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملت أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ من النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر والليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في فلك المشحون وهلكنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشاء نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل له اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها مؤرزين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا الذين آمنوا أنتم من لو يشاء والله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذ وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة يوم في شغل فاكهون هم أزواج في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم أن لا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعين فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسحناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مزيا ولا يرجعون ومن ننبر ننكس في حلق أفلا يأكلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا وهك على القول الكافرين أولم يروا أنا هلكنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوب ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناهم من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا نسي خلق قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحيي الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعلكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العظيم وصدق الرسول رب العالمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما عن جابر بن عبد الله الأنصاري عن فاطمة الزهراء عليها السلام بنت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله قال سمعت فاطمة أنها قالت دخل علي أبي رسول الله في بعض الأيام فقال السلام عليك يا فاطمة فقلت عليك السلام قال إني أجد في بدني ضعفا فقلت له ويذك بالله يا أبتاه من الضعف فقال يا فاطمة ائتيني بالكساء يماني فخطيني بي فأتيت بالكساء يماني فخطيت بي وسرت أنظر إليه وإذا وجهه يتلاله كأنه البدر في ليلة تمامه وكماله فما كانت العساءة وإذا بولد الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا قرتين وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك راية طيبة كأنها راية جد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل حسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتظن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب حوزي قد أذنت لك، فدخل معه تحت الكساء. فما كانت العصا وإذا بولد الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه، فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرتين وثمرة فؤادي. فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك راية طيبة كأنها راية جد رسول الله. فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء. فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جدة، السلام عليك يا من اختار الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك. فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. فقلت وعليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين. فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك راية طيبة كأنها راية أخي وابن أمي رسول الله. فقلت نعم ها ما ولديك تحت الكساء. فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وسي وخليفتي وصاحبي ولوالي قد أذنت لك. فدخل علي تحت الكساء. ثم أتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله، أتأذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء؟ فقال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي قد أذنت لك. فدخلت تحت الكساء. فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ أبي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومى بيد اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وهامتي، لحمهم لمي ودمهم دمي، يعلمني ما يعلمهم ويحزنني ما يحزنهم. أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن صالمهم وعدو لمن آداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم، إنه مني وأنا منهم. فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليهم، وأذب عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان سماواتي إني ما خلقت السماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدعو ولا بحر يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا ربي ومن تحت الكساء؟ فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعدن الرسالة، هم فاطمة وأبوها وبعلها وبنوها. فقال جبرائيل يا ربي أتأذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض ليكون معهم سادسا؟ فقال الله عز وجل نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله، العلي الأعلى يقرأك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت السماء مبنيا ولا أرضا مدهيا ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيا ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحر يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم، وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم، فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نام قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبريل معنا تحت الكساء فقال لي أبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا إلا ونضت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فذنا وفاض شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال أبي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبينا وفيه محموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مغموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي عليه السلام إذا والله فذنا وسعدنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسعدوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
محمد وعلى
محمد صلوات اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you on the Wiladat of Imam Muhammad al-Taki alayhi salam. But Muhammad wa ala Muhammad salawat. میرے خدا میری قسمت میں ہر خوشی لکھنا. میرے خدا میری قسمت میں ہر خوشی لکھنا. میرے خدا میری قسمت میں ہر خوشی لکھنا. مجھے بھی آ گیا کاغذ پہ یا تکی لکھنا. مجھے بھی آ گیا کاغذ پہ یا تکی لکھنا. بلائیں جب در و دیوار سے لپٹ جائیں. بلائیں جب در و دیوار سے لپٹ جائیں تو اشک درد سے مشکل کشا تکی لکھنا. تو اشک درد سے مشکل کشا تکی لکھنا. بس ایک بار جو مانگا تھا ان کی چوکھٹ سے. بس ایک بار جو مانگا تھا ان کی چوکھٹ سے. اب اس کے بعد کسی کو کہاں سخی لکھنا. اب اس کے بعد کسی کو कहाँ सखी लिखना, डरा न पाए मुझे जुल्मते ज़माने की, डरा न पाए मुझे जुल्मते ज़माने की, तुम्हारे नाम से आता है रोशनी लिखना, तुम्हारे नाम से आता है रोशनी लिखना। जो चंद लम्हे गुजारे तकी की मिदहत में, जो चंद लम्हे गुजारे तकी की मिदहत में, मेरी हयात में बस उनको जिंदगी लिखना, मेरी हयात में बस उनको जिंदगी लिखना। मेरे खुदा मेरी किस्मत में हर खुशी लिखना। बर मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद सलावत।
Sheikh Bilal, Dr. Dungersi, respected elders, brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Tonight's Surah Yasin has been sponsored for the Ithal Thawab of the Marhumeen that are displayed on the screen. Let us all recite Surah Fatiha for all Marhumeen. On behalf of the Ahmadi Islamic Center, we would like to congratulate you all on the Wiladat of Imam Muhammad al-Taki. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. This Sunday we'll be having madrasa starting from 10:45 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Followed by Monday we'll be celebrating the Wiladat of Imam Ali. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And we will also be having a program that will be held on Saturday, January 18th, in celebration of Imam Ali as well. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So as you all know, inshallah, we're all here to celebrate a known announcement of one of my best friends. He's sitting, shining front and center right here. He is one of my best friends. We've grown up together and our families are deeply connected in a lot of ways. To his, inshallah, future father-in-law, please hold nothing against me or, Hussain, but this is a bond that's almost impossible to penetrate. So without further ado, it's truly a pleasure to introduce two incredible individuals who have come together to create something truly special. A partnership built on creativity, drive, and a shared passion for adventure. Tonight we celebrate Hussain and Sarah, a couple who perfectly embodied the saying that opposites attract while also complementing one another in the most beautiful ways. Let's start with Hussain. Hussain Khalfan was born and raised in the heart of New York City. Hussain has always had a love for fast cars, but he drives really slow. The thrill of competition and achieving excellence in all that he does. Whether it's on the basketball court, perfecting his tennis game, or tinkering with his latest automotive passion project, Hussain brings focus and dedication to every endeavor. Professionally, he serves as the CEO of Big Apple Visual Group, a role that perfectly reflects his sharp mind and leadership skills. He is the son of Marhum Amir Ali Dirani, Amir Ali Khalfan. My dad and him have the same name. I have the same name as him. Amir Ali Khalfan, Marhum Amir Ali Khalfan, and his brother, Marhum Ahmad Ali Khalfan. Al-Fatiha. And on the other hand, we have Sarah Molidina, a proud Floridian with a love for sunny beaches and an equally radiant personality to match. Sarah graduated from the University of Miami, class of 2024, with a major in international studies and minors in Arabic and entrepreneurship. Her academic journey is a testament to her curiosity, determination, and global perspective. Sarah's drive for excellence has led her to exciting opportunities, including her current role as executive director at Mastering Creative Agency in Delray Beach, Florida. Together, Sarah and Hussain balance each other perfectly. Hussain brings the hustle and drive of the Big Apple, while Sarah radiates the warmth and optimism of the Sunshine State. Inshallah, she'll bring some heat here. As you can see, the weather's, not the best, but they share a deep love for family, a zest for adventure, and a belief in making every moment count. As a couple, they remind us of the beauty of partnership, the power of combining two unique worlds into one extraordinary journey. Hussain and Sarah, you guys are the perfect example of how life becomes even better when shared with the right person. So inshallah, let us all recite a loud salawat for my brother Hussain and his fiancée Sarah. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Just a quick fact for you guys. Hussain and I do a lot of things together. We're in competition with each other in who gets the first car. We've had the same car for a lot of years together. We went to Dubai together. We drove from Dubai to Abu Dhabi together to see, who could get there the slowest. Wink, wink. Amongst a lot of other things as well. So much so, I don't know if he told you this, but my fiancée and Sarah actually have a birthday 1 day apart. That's how close we are together, as well as our weddings probably being 1 week apart. So inshallah, to a bond that's going to last a lifetime in this world as well as in the next. Salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Lastly, let us recite 5 times Amma Yujib for all those who are sick here and around the world. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul mustaraiza dha'u wa yakshifu su. 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 Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Please recite aloud salawat as we call up Sheikh Bilal. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala.
رحم الله من يقرأ سورة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. الحمد لله رب العالمين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، واللعنة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه الحكيم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. Your second salawat for love of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And your loudest salawat is congratulations to the master of our time, Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. As'adullah ayyamana wa ayyamakum. May Allah make these days blessed for us and for you as we celebrate the Wiladat of our ninth Imam, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad al-Taki alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Throughout the history of humanity, the creation that Allah made us, the element of success for humanity, the most important element for humanity is the intellect. And the preference of the intellect over the other attributes that humanity possesses in terms of desire, emotion, need, has been one of the hallmarks of success in humanity that Allah has wanted to cultivate. Which is why Allah, instead of, for example, revealing to every human being the same message, selected one from amongst all of humanity and would make him the messenger. And that messenger would make apparent the desire that Allah has for humanity, and it would then be upon people to adopt that message. However, this wasn't enough, that Allah would then further, as He would reveal this message to society, He would then test society to make sure that you actually believed in this message, or you were just doing what people did. We saw this, for example, throughout the history of all of the Anbiya, where at times Allah would separate the Nabi from the people to see what do the people do. One of the most famous examples, the people of Nabi Musa, the Bani Israel. When Musa alayhi salam leaves them and he says, I'll leave you for 30 days and then I'll be back. Listen to my brother while I'm gone. 30 days come and go, Musa doesn't come back. What do the Bani Israel do? They stop following the message of Musa, create an idol and start worshipping the idol. This was the test of the intellect to see that these Bani Israel, were they just following a tradition and a culture? As long as there was a teacher over them with a stick, do they listen? But if you take away the stick, will they still listen? Or are they just doing what was convenient? Throughout history, Allah created this series of tests to see, do you really believe? Are you really following a religion? Or is this all lip service? Because the success of Allah's creation is that He gives you a message and you implement it in your life and you follow that because you really believe in it and you understand it. Not because it's my culture, not because society tells me to, not because I was born into it, not because it's convenient. No, because it really means something to me. And throughout history, this test has been going on, one after another, and different injunctions and versions of this test have shown up. Whether we take a look, for example, in the life of our Holy Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the establishment of this religion that became a world power, and how it began with nothing, and how it began the Annunciation at the age of 40. And could people believe this? That a man who has been with us for 40 years, that he would come and give us a message? Does this man have the ability to convert the most powerful group of people that existed in a land that was the most ignorant of lands? And the revolution that Allah brings in that environment to bring about this change. And then we saw with the successorship of the Prophet, we saw with the appointment of our first Imam and the Khilafah, of how it was a test for people to believe in the wilayat of this Imam, to believe in the divine authority that was appointed, and how some did and many didn't. And then throughout the seerah and the examples of the Ahlul Bayt, we saw periods of times where Allah tested us. Whether He tested us with the intellectual ability to submit to the command of when our second Imam made a peace treaty with the Banu Umayyah, or whether He tested us with the third Imam and our ability to stand up and fight against the same Banu Umayyah that one made a treaty with. Then you take a look and you see the time periods of the other Imams and the Ahlul Bayt, and you'll see example after example of Allah testing our intellectual ability to recognize what is the religion and to follow that religion. And this concept of preferring the intellect and perfecting the intellect and using our intellect to approach the religion of Islam is something so significant and something so important that many of the attributes that we needed to be able to perfect our intellect to believe in and submit to the authority of the Imam were not perfected in us until the wiladat of this Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad alayhi salam. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is why his father would make a statement, ما كان ولد في إسلام مولودا أعظم بركة عن الهاب المولود. There has been no child born in this religion of Islam who is a greater source of blessings than this son of mine, Muhammad. That was said about our 9th Imam. Which is why one of the wiladats of Rajab that is very significant and important for us to celebrate is this wiladat that the Imam is describing. There's no greater barakah than this mawlud. That in the religion of Islam, there has not been one born who is a greater blessing for the Shia, for the followers of the message of Ahlul Bayt than this child of mine. To understand that, we'll take a few points with your loudest of salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. One of the interesting things to note actually is that the wiladat of Imam Jawad in this month and the wiladat of his son Imam al-Hadi in this month, we're certain of. Why? Because there's actually a narration from our 12th Imam where he makes a dua. And he makes a dua, Allahumma bihaqqi barakatil hadha al-mawludain fi hadha al-shahr al-Rajab, al-Muhammad ibn Ali wa Ali ibn Muhammad. Imam Zaman mentions these two in the du'as of Rajab. There's a dua that is mansoos, that is sourced from our 12th Imam, in which he references the birth of these two in the month of Rajab. Some people question this, and they question why did the Imam only mention these two wiladat in this month when there are other wiladat? For example, Imam al-Baqir on the 1st, Imam Ali on the 13th. But Imam Zaman only mentions these two in this dua. One of the explanations for this actually says, take a look at the context of where the dua comes from. That actually the third, this in Ghaybat al-Sughra, the third naib of Imam, who is known as Hussain ibn Rawh, and Hussain ibn Rawh has a very interesting history within itself, posed the question that people were asking, that when was the birth date of these two Imams to the 12th Imam? The 12th Imam in reply teaches Hussain ibn Rawh a dua for the month of Rajab that takes the wasila of these two Imams who were born in the month of Rajab. The beauty of the reply of the Imam is that not only does he say, yes, they were born in this month, but rather he teaches a dua to go out and to seek the wasila of these Imams and take the benefit from them, which is why the du'as of Rajab are something that even when our 12th Imam has the opportunity, he adds to from himself to make sure that in this month, O mu'mineen, do not ignore the fact that you have a spiritually heightened ability to seek the wasila and assistance from Allah in this month. And that these two are one of the sources of barakah in this month. From the attributes of this Imam, our 9th Imam, he's known as Muhammad ibn Ali and he's known as Abu Ja'far. We've said this earlier this month as well too. If you notice, our 5th Imam is also Muhammad ibn Ali and he's also Abu Ja'far. Which is why when we look at narrations, there are places where you'll see Abu Ja'far al-Thani, the second Abu Ja'far. Wherever we see the statement, the second Abu Ja'far, it's referring to Imam Jawad, our 9th Imam. And where we don't see that statement, Abu Ja'far al-Thani, we're referring to our first Abu Ja'far, who is Imam al-Baqir. And both of these Aimma share this similar title and are from the same month and have the same parentage as well too, that is one of the barakat that they possess that is present in them. Imam Ridha's statement, there is no greater barakah for the blessing, no greater blessing for the believers than the birth of this son of mine, has at least 3 different explanations to it. The first of these points to and looks at the fact of what was going on at that time. The Waqifiyya, who was a sect of people who established and accepted the wilayah of Imam Ali, stopped at the imamat of Imam al-Kadhim and would not proceed further and said, that's it. Imam al-Kadhim is the Qa'im. He is the leader of the Muslimin. One of the proofs that they use was this verse that we began our discussion with from Surah At-Tawbah, verse number 33. هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولُهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَ الدِّينَهُ عَلَى كُلِّهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُشْرِكُونَ. Allah has promised in the Quran that His religion will overcome all of the other religions and all of the people will be forced to accept this religion whether they like it or not. On that principle, we saw that Imam al-Kadhim was the attribute of being able to overcome the people, and that's why Harun imprisoned him, and that's why he suffered, and that's why he was separated from us, and he will be the one who completes this promise. When the instruction was given to say that no, Imam Ridha is the Imam after him, they said no, Imam Ridha is na'uzubillah incomplete. So what do you mean he's incomplete? And the comment was, he has no children. An imam is complete in every aspect and perfect in every aspect, in the sense that anything that another person can do, the imam has the ability to do it. No one can do an action better than the imam. So when it happens that you have an imam and he has no children, but common people have children, then how can he be the imam? So the Waqifiyya used this as a fundamental to stop and not believe in the wilayat and the authority of Imam Rada. Said he has no children, and if he has no children, and I can have children, then how can he be my imam? And they stopped in this process. One of the barakat of Imam Jawad was that every imam proves the imamat of his son. Imam Jawad is that one imam who proved the imamat of his father, Ali ibn Musa al-Rida alayhi salam. So meaning one of the barakat was, as soon as Imam Jawad is born, that people who had refused to accept the wilayat and the authority of Imam Rada left that ideology and came back to the ideology of submitting to the authority of Imam Rada, and saying that now when we see the completion of the religion, which is why people at that time would even ask Imam Rada, when will you have a child? When will this happen? Because Imam Rada did not have any children until the age of 47 approximately, 47 or 48. That until that point in time, no kids. So that was uncommon, that was abnormal, especially considering his father, Imam al-Kadhim, had over 30 children. And Imam Rada had none. And Imam Rada used to be castigated by the people by this, because they said, we don't understand this. Even those who were the Shia, you see them, the sincere followers would ask Imam Rada, is Allah going to give you a child? Why is there no child? If we know that Allah intends that through the A'immah alayhimus salam that this earth will be complete in its process, then how can you be the imam if there's no lineage and Allah hasn't given you the authority to overcome this, and we know that it doesn't complete with you? And the intellect was naqis. The intellect was incomplete, that they couldn't understand that Allah can delay an affair. The same way that Allah separated Musa from his people to test them to see do they actually follow the religion of Musa, the same way Allah, for the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, gave us tests. That do we truly submit to the authority of the Imam, even when it doesn't look like what we expect it to? They focused on this one attribute of saying, where's your child? Instead of looking at all of the other attributes an Imam possesses, looking at all of the other amazing characteristics, the knowledge, the teaching, the piety, the ibadah, that an Imam possesses, they ignored all of these attributes and focused only on one. And they refused to acknowledge the Imam. Which is why we see that the birth of Imam Jawad unifies and brings the people of that time together and solves one of the tests that Allah had put the mu'mineen of that time under, to see do they really believe in an Imam, or do they simply give lip service, and if he doesn't do what they expect him to, that they can't submit to that authority. The next phase of how this is explained is that Imam Jawad's birth proves the authority and the imamat of his son Imam al-Hadi. How? That Imam Jawad begins his imamat at the age of 8. The Imam is born in the year 195, and he spends 5 years with his father Imam Rada. At the age of 5, Imam Rada is forced to migrate from the city of Medina to Marv, Khurasan, Tus as it's called, and today what we call Iran, in parts of Iran, where the Khalifa was, Ma'mun was at that point in time. At the age of 5, Imam Rada turns to the people and says, I have sat Abu Ja'far in my seat, and he speaks my speech, and he answers you in the way I answer you. And he leaves the entirety of the authority of the religion in the hands of his 5-year-old son. And we know that at the age of 8, 3 years after Imam Rada leaves, Imam Rada is shaheed and martyred. And at that point in time, the Imam assumes the full authority of Imamat at that point. This assumption of authority at the age of 8 was the first time that the Shia had to witness an Imam establish his authority so young. Otherwise, all of the A'immah alayhimus salam, the youngest prior to them was most likely Imam al-Kadhim, who was at the age of 20 became the Imam. All of the others were very mature when they became an Imam. This description of imamat being established in someone very young was what allowed, when Imam al-Hadi assumes the imamat his son at the age of 6 or 7, that people didn't question Imam al-Hadi, they believed in his authority. And in this way he proves the imamat afterwards, that we don't have to question Imam al-Hadi, that can you be the Imam? Is it possible for you to be the Imam? As a matter of fact, the Imam goes so far as not only to prove the imamat of Imam al-Hadi, but he also proves the imamat of the Imam of our time, Sahib al-Asri wa zaman, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. How? When we take a look at the Wiladat of our Imam of our time, and we see his ghaybat and the shahadat of his father, our Imam is no more than 5 years of age when his father becomes shaheed. And that process of his establishment of imamat is not that, oh, someday there will be an imam, but the reality that even at 5, there's nothing that stops him from being an imam. This intellectual necessity was something Imam Rida had to facilitate for the people, because when the people saw that he was being forced to migrate from the city of Medina, they said, Yabna Rasulullah, whenever your father left, he was assassinated. How do we know that when you leave? Imam Rida explains, and he says, even if I leave, my son is in my seat and he will be the authority. And those companions at that time, in their mind, they questioned, how can it be that a 5-year-old has authority over us? A 5-year-old would be the hujjah of society? Imam Rida explains, and he says, Allah made Isa a Nabi younger than my son, and made him the authority of Allah on this earth when he was even younger than this. Then why should it frighten you or make it difficult for you to accept the fact that he can be the Imam at this age? This concept and this discussion becomes very important to the intellectual submission to the authority of the Imam in spite of what the appearances may show. You see, for us to accept someone to be an authority over us, we kind of look at their attributes and their characteristics based upon the dhawahir, the apparent. We look and we say that, okay, someday you'll be smart enough to tell me, but who said you're smart enough today? This description, this attribute that we have of looking for knowledge and looking for knowledge in people that, for example, represent a certain characteristic. The Imam is re-educating and introducing the intellectual necessity that if Allah has divinely appointed an authority, then that divinely appointed authority has no restriction of age of when they establish their authority. They are an authority from the moment they're born until the moment that they die, regardless of whether they be younger than us or older than us. This ability to submit to this concept and to recognize that the authority that the Imam has is not one that he's taught and has to be under the tutelage of someone to learn, but rather it's divinely appointed, was proven in the example of Imam al-Jawad for the first time. See, prior to that, you could say, when we look at, for example, some of the stories of the Ahlul Bayt, of Imam Hassan, Imam Hussain, or of the youthfulness of Imam Zainul Abidin in some of his conversations, or for example, some of the descriptions of the childhood of the other A'immah, that these were isolated incidences of brilliance. But when you see that an Imam assumes the entirety of responsibility at the age of 8, you would question and say, can he assume this ability? Intellectually, the mistake that we would make is that he needs maturity, and that maturity allows him to have authority. Imam Jawad's example proved and taught us as the Shia that no, intellectual maturity when it comes to an Imam is not developed by age, it is divinely appointed. We see this when Allah, for example, describes in the Quran. And we look at, for example, in Surah Al-Baqarah, verse number 269. يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَمَنْ يُؤْتِ الْحِكْمَةَ فَقَدْ أُوتِيَ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا وَمَا يَذَّكَّرُ إِلَّا أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Allah makes a statement in the Quran where He says that Allah is the one who grants wisdom to whoever He desires. And whoever has been granted wisdom has been granted khayr al-kathir, a great goodness and an abundant goodness. Yet no one will mind, but no one will understand this. No one will believe this except ulul albab. The significance of this statement that Allah makes in the Quran is to say that hikmah, wisdom, is something that is the right of Allah to disperse where He chooses. It's not something that is a gradual criteria that one individual can develop or another. That it is something that Allah provides. The statement that Allah completes with that you don't realize it except for ulul albab has two processes of understanding and two explanations for it. One is to say that hikmah Allah can give to the mu'min and the one who isn't a mu'min. But the one who will appreciate it and use that hikmah correctly is the mu'min, because he is ulul albab, that he is the one who follows the intellect and understands the process of the intellect. The other interpretation of this is to say that the ability of recognizing that hikmah is the authority of Allah and divinely appointed and is not the consequence of your attributes, is the one who will recognize this in the Imam and follow the Imam, because he has submitted to his intellect and recognizes that the authority of Allah has no restriction of age based upon it. You guys with me? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This concept that I'm trying to describe is best narrated through a story. The story refers to Ali ibn Ja'far, who was the son of the 6th Imam. The son of the 6th Imam, brother of the 7th Imam. Ali ibn Ja'far followed the seerah of his father and was one of the teachers of the city of Medina. And he was a good teacher and well known, and he was someone who was one of the guides of the madhab Shia and the Ja'fari fiqh and taught people to follow the message of the Ahlul Bayt. And he was someone who believed in all of the Imams. Now when Imam Jawad is born, Imam Jawad in relationship to Ali ibn Ja'far is not his nephew, is his great nephew. Imam Rada is the nephew of Ali ibn Ja'far, and Imam Jawad, being the son of Imam Rada, is his great nephew. So when Imam Jawad is born, Ali ibn Ja'far is an old man, and he's one of the famous teachers in the city of Medina. And all of the Shia know that if you want to learn something about the Ahlul Bayt, you go to him. But Ali ibn Ja'far had to teach society of how to appreciate the Imam of the time. Which is why in one of the famous narrations, it shows that when Imam Jawad as a young boy, between the ages of 5 and 8, or maybe a little bit older than that, but as a child, walks into Masjid al-Nabawi, Ali ibn Ja'far, who is teaching a class and has many people sitting around him, sees the Imam enter as a boy, and this old man jumps, and he runs from his seat, and he goes to greet this young boy and to honor him, and greets him not as an uncle greeting his nephew or a grandfather greeting a grandson. This old man bows in front of and greets this Imam as an Imam in the authority of Allah on this earth, and shows him the deference and respect given to someone much greater than yourself. And Imam Jawad says, "Oh uncle, why did you come?" And he says, "No, it is out of the honor and respect of you, the Imam of Allah on this earth." And Imam Jawad instructs him, "Return to your seat." Ali ibn Ja'far goes back to his seat and sits. And now all of his students begin to castigate him. "Why did you do that? How disrespectful of you. How inappropriate of you. That you're an old man. He's a child. You get up from your place to go greet him like this. You get up and you leave your spot. It's more appropriate that he comes to you." And Ali ibn Ja'far points out and he says, "No, that's the authority of Allah on this earth. There is no one greater, more knowledgeable, more pious, more better than this young man that you see in front of you, and he is deserving of this respect and authority that I have given him." That instruction is a learned attribute, and it was a test of the intellect, and it will be a test of our intellect. That when inshallah Allah reveals the Imam of our time, inshallah. You had cookies, you're awake, I know. They gave you cookies, I saw it. When Allah reveals the Imam of our time, for the barakat of the Imam, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. From amongst the descriptions of the Imam of our time is that he will come as a young man. He will come as a man in his youth. Will you question him? Or will our intellect have been purified by listening to and learning of the examples of Imam Jawad of how do we greet the Imam of our time? There will be those who will look at the Imam of our time and question his judgment. What are you doing? Famously, it's very famous, that there are those who will initially submit to his authority and then question his authority and then walk away from the authority of the Imam. Why? Because they didn't understand what it means to be an Imam. They didn't learn from the example of Imam Jawad. They didn't follow the seerah of the Ahlul Bayt to learn that this authority that they possess, this knowledge that they possess, is not to be questioned, is not to be debated, and is not something that you and I can achieve except by the wisdom and the assistance of Allah. And that Allah has given it to them. The only people who will recognize that is ulul albab, those who are thoughtful about this process, those who preserve in their intellect and recognize that authority. You can't look at an imam and say, well, he's a boy, or he's a young man, or that why should I listen to him? I have more years of experience than him. You can't question their decision that anything that they say that you have any ability to understand what they do except that they teach you. And there's no criticism of the decision that they make. It's not like a normal person. The process of appreciating that is established in the example of Imam Jawad so that we don't make that mistake. This is why when Imam Radha makes a statement, مَا كَانَ مَوْلُودًا أَعْظَمُ بَرَكَةٍ مِّنْ هَذَا الْمَوْلُودِ, that there is no child born that gives greater barakah, is that Allah resolved so many of the tests and difficulties for the nation of Muslimin of understanding who is an Imam and what is an Imam, except that it was in the seerah and the example of this Imam that we are celebrating today, Imam Muhammad ibn Ali al-Jawad alayhi salam. Briefly, we mentioned that from his titles is the one who is Jawad, the one who is generous and known for his generosity and giving, and he is also known as Babul Murad, the gateway for the answering of your wants and needs, and that these attributes of the Imam make him one of the great wasila and one of the great sources of benefit that we possess, and that it is always the necessity to turn back to him and to ask from him, and that his generosity is not limited the same way his knowledge is not limited by age. His generosity is not limited by your ability to see him, to ask him. One of the mistakes that we often make is that we communicate the one that we can see, or we put our hope in the one that we can see and interact with. But when Allah gives us these Ahlul Bayt and these Imams, their authority over us does not end with, for example, the ending of this material life, but that it continues, such that his generosity is still something that we should have hope for and something that we should benefit from. Most commonly in our culture, he is referred to as Imam al-Taki, the one who is pious, and his piety again and the du'as received from him are something that are unparalleled, but his more common name is the one that is associated with his jood and his generosity. That generosity he possessed was something unique and gave barakah to the people, all of the people of that time. Many of the Shia throughout history suffered through great levels of difficulty and great levels of want. One of the elements that changed that in the environment of his time was Imam Jawad. That his giving, even from a young age, changed the ability and the resources of all of the Muslimin, not just the Shia. And he was someone who brought that change in positivity and that giving, and taught the attribute of giving to all of us, even from a young age. One of the other significances that we take a look at is that, yes, we take a look and we see that, for example, I can't be Imam Jawad, but I can ensure the purity in my lineage to make sure that my lineage has purity and better access to hikmah and knowledge by the actions that I take as a father. And that responsibility relies on us, that Allah gives the imamat in the example of an 8-year-old to show that even you have the ability to purify your children, to educate them well, and paying attention to the seerah of education. One of the attributes that, for example, that the imam possesses is not because he was forced into it, but rather he was raised in an environment of purity. أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأسلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة. This example and description of the Ahlul Bayt and the consequence of this description allows us to believe in the authority of the Imam even from the age of 8. And it also gives us a lesson that purify yourselves and you will purify your children. And that piety will come into your children the more you cleanse yourself. The cleansing of the self that we talk about in this example is not just the cleansing of, for example, the physical attributes, but the spiritual attributes. And that knowledge of spirituality, as well as the exposure that we possess and we give to our children. One of the important elements that we possess is the ability to go to this ziyarat of this Imam. And we'll finish on this note. One of the great barakat that we have in our lifetime, that is a blessing for us, is that we can go spend time in these places that are associated with Ahlul Bayt. Sometimes we think that it's good for me to go. But when you look at a child of 2, 3, 4, you wonder, what can this child do? What's the benefit to them? It's the same thing to them whether they're here or they're there. It's not. There is the physical attribute and there is the spiritual attribute. The spirituality of whether it's a child or an adult resonates with the experience of being in places of piety, being in places of purity and cleanliness. that exposing your family, your children, and yourself to these places will always give you a benefit and can never do less than benefit you. So it's one of the attributes that if you want to possess these qualities in your children and to improve them, that they have better connection of spirituality, both change your character and give them the exposure to benefit from these personalities. One of the most difficult things that we possess is that this Imam's life is only a period of 25 years. The youngest of the A'imma alayhimus salam, the youngest Imam to be killed was Imam Jawad, who was killed at the age of 25, and his Imamat lasted for a period of 17 years. While his Imamat is not the shortest of any of the A'imma, his life at 25, and in some narrations 28, is the shortest. And that's one of the items that when you go to his grave, to stand by and see the world come and ask for the wasila of this Imam. If we were to see this Imam, and we saw an Imam like this amongst us, would we be able to submit to his authority? Would we acknowledge his authority? And to look at the madhlumiyat of that Imam, that only 25 years we had with him. And that gives us the example to pray for our Imam, that may Allah preserve his life. May Allah lengthen his authority over us. نسألك باسمك العظيم الأعظم Al-Ajall al-Akram. 10 times we call out by the barakat of our Imam, by the barakat of this night, by the barakat of Ahlul Bayt. Ya Allahu, Ya Allahu, Ya Allahu, Ya Allahu, Ya Allah. Ya Allahu, Ya Allahu, Ya Allahu, Ya Allahu, Ya Allah. Ya Mahmud bihaqqi Muhammad. Ya A'la bihaqqi Ali. Ya Fatir al-Samawat bihaqqi Fatima. Ya Muhsin bihaqqi al-Hasan. Ya Qadim al-Ahsan bihaqqi al-Hussain. Oh Allah, by the right of our Imam al-Jawad, by the right of Imam al-Taki, by the right of his fathers and his pure progeny, oh Allah, forgive our sins and cover our flaws. Ya Allah, let not the month of Rajab pass except that all of our sins are forgiven. Ya Allah, let not this month pass except that all of our hajat are fulfilled. Ya Allah, let not this month pass except that our dua for the hastening of the reappearance of Sahib al-Zaman is answered. Ya Allah, let this year not pass except that we are in the company of our Imam. Oh Allah, we have gathered here with hajat. By the right of the one whose generosity was famous, fulfill our hajat. Ya Allah, those amongst our families and our communities who are suffering through sickness and disease, give shafa'at to the mu'mineen wherever they are. Ya Allah, give aman to those who are suffering through strife and difficulty wherever they may be in this world. Oh Allah, keep our children on the upright path of Islam. Ya Allah, give us the tawfiq to be amongst ulul albab and those who are intellectual in our approach and follow the religion of Islam. Ya Allah, entitle us to the ziyarat of Imam Hussain in this world and the shafa of Imam Hussain in the hereafter. Remembering all of our marhumeen, 1 Surah Fatiha, 3 times Surah Ikhlas, with your loudest of salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin.
أفضل السلام محمد وآل محمد मुसल्ले पे मैंने अली का कसीदा यूं ही गुनगुनाया सवेरे सवेरे मुसल्ले पे मैंने अली का कसीदा यूं ही गुनगुनाया सवेरे सवेरे खुदा की कसम फिर इबादत का मुझको बड़ा लुत्फ आया सवेरे सवेरे निकल कर अंधेरों के नरगे से हुर जा दरे शह पर आया सवेरे सवेरे سویرے سویرے تو زہرا کے بیٹے نے ایک پل میں اس کا مقدر جگایا سویرے سویرے ملک نے یہ جس وقت مدح و ثنا کی فضاؤں میں گونجی صدا یا علی کی صدا یا علی کی یا علی یا علی پرندوں نے بھی اپنی بولی میں نعرہ علی کا لگایا سویرے سویرے ہے مرضی حسنین مرضی خدا کی ابھی سیدہ کے لہو پر دعا تھی لہو پر دعا تھی لباس جنا لے کے رضوان جنت نے در کھٹکھٹایا سویرے سویرے مناد علی پر کے سویا تھا شب کو پسند اس قدر آئی یہ بات رب کو یہ بات رب کو سہیل کے فرشتے نے آ کر مجھے یہ قصیدہ سنایا سویرے سویرے مصلی پہ میں نے علی کا قصیدہ یوں ہی گنگنایا سویرے سویرے خدا کی قسم پھر عبادت کا مجھ کو بڑا لطف آیا سویرے سویرے افضل الصلاۃ محمد وآل محمد محمد وآل محمد صلوات
يا محمد بن عبد الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي الشهيد بكربلاء السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا ابن الحسن يا صاحب الزمان السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان ورحمة الله وبركاته
اللهم قل لوليك حجة بن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى عبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزقا طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.